I took these two lenses across Italy for 10 days and this was my experience. A few months ago, Sony released these two zoom lenses. It is the 16-25 and the 24-50 G lens f2.8. In my first impression videos, I basically call these lenses baby G Masters because you have G Master level of quality, but you don't have the price or the size that the G Master lens brings. So of course, with the lenses being so small, they pair up perfectly with cameras like the A7cII. This is the iPhone 15 and it's not the Max, and I can hide the entire camera behind the phone. So pretty compact camera for what it is. So fast forward to May, and my girlfriend had a line sister that was getting married in the Amalfi Coast. So we basically took that wedding to plan out a 10-day trip to Italy. Now initially I only had a small amount of time to play with these lenses when they were released, but I figured that this would be a much better opportunity to give a more in-depth review of what these lenses offer. So I reached out to Sony, told them what my plans were, and they sent me the 24-50 as well as the 16-25 to document my time in Italy. So for my setup, I do photos on the Sony a7cII, and I typically shoot at 24, 35, or 50 millimeters. And I have a prime lens for each one of those focal lengths. So having the 24-50 meant I didn't need to bring any other lenses, and this was literally the only lens that I had on the camera the entire trip. Now the 24mm and the 50mm that I typically use are a little smaller than this lens, but I would also have to change lenses when I want to change focal length. So even though this lens is slightly bigger than those, the trade-off is I never had to change lenses. And like I said before, this lens does give you G Master level of optical quality. So I had the A7C set up with the 24-50, and I had my FX3 set up with the 16-25, just in case I wanted to capture any vlog shots or any B-roll I wanted to get for the trip. So 2 cameras, 2 lenses, 10 days in Italy. So getting into the trip, after a nice long flight across the Atlantic Ocean, we landed in Venice, and that was the first stop of the trip. Of course, you can't come to Venice without doing the gondola ride.
Of course not.
Venice is a very beautiful city, and of course it's known for having the canals running through the streets, and surprisingly reminded me a lot of New Orleans. For the newer people who are following this channel, I'm originally from Louisiana, which has a French and Spanish background, so I didn't expect to find a New Orleans vibe in Italy. After leaving Venice, we took a train ride to Pisa because, of course, you got to check out the Leaning Tower of Pisa if you're going to go to Italy. So we rode pretty much across the entire country to get to Pisa, which is on the opposite side of Italy. Outside of the Leaning Tower, I would say that Pisa gave us more of an authentic vibe compared to Venice because there were less tourists, because Pisa is a location that you kind of have to like intentionally go to. I think people fly to Italy and they go to Florence, they go to Rome, they go to Venice, but I don't think most people are actually like landing in Pisa and staying in Pisa. They might go there from another destination that they went to intentionally. So the wedding is taking place in the Amalfi Coast, which is close to the bottom of the country, and Venice and Pisa are closer to the top of the country. So we're pretty much taking these days to like hop our way down to get closer to the actual wedding venue as the days get closer. So from Pisa, it's back on the train, and now we're headed to Rome. I'm somebody who loves history, and Italy, of course, has history laid out throughout the entire country, but Rome, of course, is Rome. And I can't tell you how many times we made "when in Rome" jokes, when in Rome. So we ended up spending 2 days in Rome, and those 2 days we mainly just shopped because Rome has amazing shopping, and neither one of us had an outfit for the welcome party or the wedding. We just figured that Italy is known for fashion, so it shouldn't be a problem being able to find an outfit for a wedding, which it definitely wasn't. So although we did do a lot of sightseeing in Rome for those 2 days, we also knew that we were coming back after the wedding, so we didn't try to get it all out in those 2 days. So once it became time to leave Rome, this is when the trip gets a little tricky because navigating the bottom portion of Italy was a little more difficult than the northern part, because now we're getting to the coastal cities, we're getting, into winding roads around the mountains, places where the trains won't go. So that's why we want to work our way down to get there ahead of time, just in case we ran into any issues, which we really didn't. It was pretty smooth. The trip pretty much went to plan the entire time. The train from Rome took us down to Salerno, which is along the same coastline as the Amalfi and Positano. Now, if you look at the road to actually get to Amalfi from Salerno, you'll see that it's going around the mountains and it's very windy and twisty, and we've heard some horror stories of people, vomiting on the bus and all these things like that. And so we basically found out that we could take a boat. Now this whole time we're traveling around, I have my luggage on me, I have these cameras on me, so even if I would have brought my other lenses, most likely I would have ended up not changing the lenses because I really just didn't have time. We're moving around so much, I wasn't gonna go in the camera bag and trying to change lenses. I had luggage with me, so having the 24-50 on the camera was clutch because, like I said, I never had to change lenses and it covers all the focal length that I use. And being a zoom lens meant that regardless of the situation I was in, I knew I can just, choose my focal length according to the shot. So we made it to the Amalfi Coast by boat and made it to the wedding on time and everything went fine. So that ended up working out, but the boat ride was so fun that we decided to take another boat ride further down the coast to Positano. All of the local taxi drivers in Amalfi were basically telling us to just go check out Positano because the Amalfi Coast is like very touristy because everyone knows the Amalfi Coast, and Positano was like more authentic, but it also had the same vibe as the Amalfi Coast. So when we got to Positano, it was like, I see why they told us to check out Positano and get out of Amalfi. So the day after the wedding, we took a boat ride to Positano and spent that whole day, exploring Positano. We took the boat back to the Amalfi Coast for our last night at our Airbnb. And now the trip is pretty much over and we're flying out of Rome. So now it's our last day in Rome, our last day in Italy, and we took this time to pretty much enjoy Rome instead of doing all the shopping like we did the first time. This is also when I made a video talking about a practice technique that I use to practice my photography. So I'll link that down below, but all in all, this trip went very smooth. I'm glad I reached out to Sony about using these lenses because most likely I would have brought my primes and I would have ended up only using one and having extra lenses in my camera bag when I didn't really need to do that. So now that I have a more in-depth experience with these lenses and I've used them on an actual travel trip where, I'm going through airports, I'm going through security, I'm going through train rides, boat rides, in between small city streets, on water, just all types of environments, I can say that my experience with these lenses were excellent. It's really hard to complain when you have the quality of a G Master lens in a much smaller and lighter body that is also much cheaper. For me personally, there was never a moment in the trip where I felt like I didn't have the right equipment. I know some people are going to say that the 24-50, you're losing 20 millimeters compared to the 24-70, but I'm the kind of person that I hardly ever shoot over 50 millimeters, and when I do, I'm gonna go way past 50 millimeters. So at least an 85, 105, 135, something like that if I'm gonna go that far into like the telephoto range. If you look at all the work I've done over the years, pretty much everything falls between 16 millimeters and 50 millimeters. Now, I never tell people what to buy because everyone has different needs and cares about different things, but if you're someone who is in the market for an A7C II or A7C, or you have any of these cameras that have smaller bodies and you want a lens to pair with it, I would say check out these two lenses because they're small, they're lightweight, and they don't sacrifice on optical quality. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys in the next one.